Hey, what was the best console of the decade?
I can tell you the worst.
Hot take.
Everything is wonderful.
It's been a decade, folks. We're about to enter into 2020 with 2 new systems coming out in that very year. But before we get there, we gotta talk about what happened these past 10 years. Now,
There was a lot of good.
a lot of good.
There was some bad.
There was some bad. Now let's just set some rules out here so everybody can understand what we're talking about. We're not just talking about game systems that were released to market in 2010. We're also talking about game systems that were still selling games in 2010. So the Wii is up for play, the 360, PS3.
Okay, so that last gen is available for comparison last
Yes.
decade, which is fair because we saw a lot of games come out from 2010 and beyond.
Absolutely. But one thing we're not going to be doing is considering any non-major consoles. So when we talk about major consoles, we're talking about big releases like stuff from Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft. We will not be talking about Ouya here. Everybody knows about Ouya and how it kind of evolved. Just consider this what we're looking at as the primary console sellers, the ones with the most money, the ones with the largest influence, and the ones that have consistently stayed in the marketplace and not just released one console and flopped.
All right, I got this. The best one, hands down. You ready?
Yep.
Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
It is the console that defines the decade because pretty much every game that's come out these past 10 years is getting ported over to the Switch. You can play it on your TV. You can play it on the go. You can do everything with this thing, almost everything.
Yeah.
It's literally the console that defines the decade. in my
Yeah,
opinion.
it's really hard to disagree with this. The PlayStation 4, in my mind, is one of the best systems that came out. Now, we can consider the Wii as one of the top-selling consoles of all time. We can consider the Xbox 360 for its sheer library. We could even talk about the PlayStation 3's later life being a lot better than its early one. But realistically, when you consider what the Switch has done, it's been honestly revolutionary. The PlayStation 4 is my next in line personally because there's just a great library of games on there and Sony really focused on making a fantastic console. But at the end of the day, it's still just a basic platform. It looks just like a PlayStation 3 with a similar looking controller. It's not really that different, but the Switch is a revolutionary concept in and of itself, allowing you to not only take games on the go, but play console quality games at home at the same time.
So where Nintendo innovates, I have to agree with you. PlayStation really polishes. The PlayStation 4 is polishing off the last generation. Everything we've seen up to this point in gaming, the PlayStation 4 is the embodiment of what that looks polished off. The exclusives on the PlayStation 4 are, in my opinion, some of the best out there.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, God of War.
Oh, yeah.
Like, these are fantastic games, which really define this current generation of gaming. Now, the Nintendo exclusives, those are the ones that are always going to have that charm, and they're going to live on for years and years. But yeah, what you're seeing with the Switch, and it's going to be interesting to see it actually in the next generation, not to get off track, if PlayStation is going to take the concept of the Switch and polish off some ideas that we saw there, because we saw them do some of that with, for example, motion controls, which was introduced through the Wii. And then we saw both Xbox and PlayStation try to do things, but it was really PlayStation that had interesting tech, just the games didn't quite live up.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because when I think about the PlayStation 1 era to the PlayStation 2, there really wasn't a lot of PlayStation 1 games getting ported to PlayStation 2. And the reason that didn't happen was because the PlayStation 2 was fully backwards compatible with PlayStation 1 games. So you didn't really have a reason to port them. And the graphics difference between the two systems was major, but beyond getting the games to look a little bit more polished, it didn't make a lot of sense. With the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, we saw a lot of the best games on that platform get ported to the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. So a lot of those great games that existed on that platform moved over. If we're going to compare PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4, PlayStation 4 wins. If we're going to compare to 360 to Xbox One, I think there's a bit of a debate there.
Oh, yeah.
But what it comes down to is the Switch just gets it right. All those games that you're talking about, all those ones that were previously locked at home releases being portable games on the Switch is crazy. And not even the previous generation. Doom.
Yeah,
is portable.
we're seeing Doom 64.
Yeah,
Doom and Witcher 3, which is another feat on its own. Like, how did they get that on the Switch? I don't know. Now, to be fair, the Switch, while it's the best, it still has a lot of shortcomings. You know, we have the whole drifting issues on the Joy-Cons. We have the online platform, which isn't quite as good as PlayStation's platform. You still have achievements on the PlayStation 4, which you can't find. And not everyone's about trophies and achievements. Personally, I am, and it's one thing Nintendo just doesn't seem to want to adopt.
That's fair. But what I hate to relive this again, but when they first talked about Doom 2016 coming out on the Switch, I thought they were lying. I was just like, oh, there's some trickery here to get it to work. I remember going to a Nintendo event, sitting down and playing Doom for the very first time, and I was just like, I don't get this. How did you cram all that in there? And it worked. It really worked. It's a fantastic port of the game. It's not the best port of the game that exists, but I've played it far worse on other platforms. So to see it in a portable way like that is crazy. And yeah, you're right. When it comes down to what the Switch was doing there, it was just it's nuts.
Right. It's good enough. You know, when you're comparing it to the other platforms, of course, you're not going to get that same quality, but when you're playing it, you're getting that same experience. You're getting that smooth control. It's on the go. It's a new way to play your games. It's revolutionary. So Switch, hands down, is the winner. But more interestingly now, what is the worst? Because there's quite a few consoles. They all have their weaknesses.
Yeah, so let's talk about a couple here that may have had issues. Now, the initial run of the original Xbox 360 units have a very bad problem known as the Red Ring of Death. It's when one of the chips on the motherboard basically breaks off from overheating and it stops working. It really sucks. From what I am to understand, it affects all the original run of Xbox 360 units. You might be lucky and have a 360 that's still working from that original run. Give it a minute. When you talk about the PlayStation 3 originally, it was way too expensive. When we talk about the Wii originally, it was really hard to come by. But as the Wii kind of tilted down over the years, it stopped becoming less interesting and people stopped buying it. But the console didn't suck. The Wii is a very good system for that. When we talk about the Xbox One, which a lot of people would consider to be one of the worst systems this generation.
It was a rough launch.
It's a really bad one. But over time, they made the hardware better. There's a lot of games on it that are worth it. We saw some exclusives come out that were pretty good, although many of those exclusives have now gone on to other platforms like the Switch. Not so
exclusive anymore, but they did a really good job at patching that up. Like,
yes.
If you want to have a good case study of damage control, look at Xbox over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
To really take such a disaster of a launch, just be like, no, it's getting better, and they recovered. They're not all the way there, but they're getting there.
Yeah, some of the most interesting revolutionary features we've been seeing in the game industry are coming from Microsoft right now because of the things that happened with the Xbox One. But Xbox does not belong in this conversation. When we're talking about the worst thing that came out from a major developer these past 10 years, unfortunately, I got to pick the Wii U.
I really hate agreeing with you on this because the Wii U is a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
But when you look at the full spectrum, you take everything into consideration, I do have to agree with you that as a whole, that is the platform that definitely suffered the most this past decade.
Now, I bought a Wii U day one. I went to the store. I had it pre-ordered. I was excited. One of the very first videos I ever did online was for a review of the Wii U. I couldn't believe that this thing was coming out in the way it was. And when I picked it up, I was really enjoying my initial impressions with it. But right after that, it started to go downhill quickly. So to talk about why this is so bad, we have to talk about the fact that many of the aspects that you would traditionally look at a system and say it's bad don't apply to the Wii U. Does the first-party library suck, Jay?
No, not at all. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's actually quite a lot of really good games.
Yeah. One of the best exclusive libraries of the last decade, I would say, just very loosely.
Does the box itself suck?
In terms of performance for what it was at its time, no, fantastic.
Underpowered compared to the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One that would come later, but it still was a lot more powerful than the Xbox 360 and the PS3. Let's just be fair here, folks. When it came to what they were offering, Nintendo really wasn't going for powerhouse. They rarely ever tried to do that, and every time they did do it in the past, it wasn't a good idea. So the Wii really wasn't bad in that regard. Where it got bad, though, was simply this. The Wii U had a bad controller. You can go around anyway. You can say that the name was bad, which it was.
The marketing was horrible.
Marketing was horrible. People thought it was they thought it was like an expansion for the Wii originally.
To this day, like more general consumers will say, well, there was the Wii and then there's the Switch. I was like, yeah, there's a Wii U in there too.
Yeah.
Most people don't even know it existed.
That's true. It's a big problem. And I think why that became an issue was that in a lot of the marketing we saw, people were holding the controller, and they weren't actually they weren't showing the box, they weren't showing all those features. It got very confusing very quick. The Wii could use the Wii U could use Wii controllers, play Wii games, also play Wii U games. Those Wii U games could also use Wii controllers, but the controller for the system itself was a gamepad. You couldn't buy two gamepads, you could only buy one. Two gamepads could not work on one Wii U. You get how weird that gets after a while? It gets very confusing and very difficult. The reason the concept of the Wii U even came into existence was because they were trying to get at the tablet market, which was really big at the time.
Yeah. Now the thing is, while they were gearing for that market, they weren't doing anything better than a tablet. A tablet, your kids could take it into the car with them.
Yep.
A Wii U gamepad, you couldn't leave home with it. You could
That's right.
barely walk 2 rooms over before it disconnected. Plus, the touchscreen was only single touch.
Yeah.
You couldn't do anything like what you could do on tablets with multi-touch interfaces. So you couldn't bring any of those games on those platforms over to the Wii U, which are all mistakes that were eventually fixed with the Switch.
Yeah, the Switch, unfortunately, it became a system that's almost a product of the faults of the Wii U. The Switch stands on its own, but what's interesting about it is that many of the best games that existed on the Wii U got ported to the Switch. Not all of them. All right, Nintendo, I'm still waiting on Pikmin 3, but the majority of the library got moved over, and I think that alone tells you just how much the Wii U lost.
Yeah. Now, I will say this about the Wii U gamepad, which is superior to the Switch. I could chuck that thing across the room and it would not break.
Yeah.
Not that I've had to do that many times, but there's that one game. Whereas the Switch is a bit more fragile. So that Wii U gamepad was really solid. I did drop it many times. Never a scratch on that thing.
Yeah. Well, it's basically there's no real expensive components inside. I mean, at the time, it was probably one of the most expensive controllers they had created because every other controller didn't have a freaking screen in it. But the idea there was pretty smart in terms of the simplicity of it to stream the signal straight from the Wii U box. But the actual fallacy of that is just the idea if you walk too far away on the Wii U, you'd lose the connection. There are so many issues when it comes into what they were actually designing, what they were trying to achieve with the Wii U, that in the end, what you get is a system that didn't really appeal to anybody. And I think that really is what the Wii U's biggest problem is. We're hardcore gamers.
Yep.
We like the Wii U for what it is.
Yeah,
and
it's one of my biggest libraries.
And I think that is what it was created for. But when you're talking about systems that kind of are being sold for everyone needs to buy it. And I think the Wii U failed. When I compare a Wii U against a tablet, the tablet wins. When I compare the Wii U against its contemporaries on the scene, we would consider the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, I think that the Wii U fails against those systems. Shockingly, though, even though the Xbox One had a very bad launch, Microsoft didn't give up on it. They kept making variations of the Xbox. The Xbox got better, the library got bigger, and there's a lot of games on there that are just really good that we never got on the Wii U. The Wii U died so early that games simply just stopped coming out on it.
Keep in mind, too, the developer aspect of the Wii U. Developers were requested, hey, you have to use this gamepad right from the get-go, which really limited the Wii U's potential because I remember I was talking with the CEO of Big Red Button who was developing Sonic Boom at the time, and he was looking at...
Not a good game.
No, not a good game. But he was sharing the difficulties of adjusting the engine that ran on to run on the Wii U gamepad, which they had to do from scratch because it wasn't supported. So it came with all of this development that just so many comments. I know it's not a great game, but it's the only game I have insight into development.
That's fine. It's fine.
So that is an angle that that's not why Sonic Boom sucked. That's for another video.
But you know what it is? That's the truth. The fact that the developers had to make use of that screen, it's like, and you know what's funny? Nintendo themselves didn't always make use of the screen. There is a Donkey Kong game that got released
early on in the life cycle too. It's black screen.
Yeah, Nintendo themselves guys, this is a mistake, and turned it off. And it's like, okay, but you still told developers to use that. So if they were making games at the same time as another platform, they'd have to use that screen in some way. It just became a madhouse thing. If you were if the Wii U sold really fast, really quickly, developers could have seen a reason to develop games on there, but instead they were looking at the PlayStation. Okay, everything's equal. The PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, the 360, the PS3, and the Wii and everything else. If you were to release a game and port it down in a weird way, lower the graphics, you could probably get that same game on Xbox One that was on the 360, that was on the PS3, that was on the PlayStation 4. But the moment you made the Wii U version, you had to use that secondary screen. So it's like, okay, here's a unique version for the Wii U. Not many people there, but that's okay. One version on 4 systems or one version on 1 system. Folks, it just didn't have a chance.
It's a shame, though, because when it did work on the Wii U, it was beautiful. Rayman Legends is on multiple platforms. It's on all the modern platforms now. But that experience on the Wii U of having that touchscreen is how I experienced Rayman Legends, and there's no other way to experience it. Same thing with Zombie U. It's a very unique experience on the Wii U.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that it just had so many other issues holding it back.
Yeah, and there's a lot of fun options to play on the Wii U. It's not that the library's bad. It's not that the hardware essentially is bad. It's the controller. It's the development of the games. It's that kind of stuff. And that makes it one of the worst systems because me knowing this from having purchased it day one, I bought it, and then there was barely any games to play after those initial months passed.
Let's not forget the online component.
Oh, yeah.
Miiverse.
Miiverse, yeah.
That, you know, as cute and adorable as it was, I hate being the bad guy, but probably the worst out of all the online options that you have.
Fair. Of all the ones that exist, that's fair.
Yeah.
The problem is that got shut down too. Like everything you want the Wii U for, eventually it just fell away. I think that what you have is a system that is very confused, doesn't know what it wants to be, and that created a product that was confusing for everybody out there. And I think that makes it the worst system of the decade. As crazy as that sound, you probably wouldn't even assume that that's where it would go, but I believe that's where it is.
The fact that the Wii U is the worst tells you that this decade was a really good decade for gaming.
Yeah, there's
That's
a lot
how
of
I
good
see it.
stuff. Yeah, I mean, this isn't to say it's the worst video game system of all time or anything.
You know a thing or two about that.
Yeah, it's not that. It's just the Wii U ended up not doing so well. Just compared to everybody else. It doesn't matter. Don't be hurt if you're a Nintendo fan. They did make the Switch. The Switch is rocking and rolling, so that's all that really matters.
0 to hero, just in a few years.
Pretty much. But folks, what do you believe was the worst system in your opinion and the best system in your opinion? Let us know in the comments below.